Well, good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you to Susie's Place this morning and invite you into my kitchen. Today, we're going to be making sauerkraut. And so we're going to start with me putting on my apron. I am set up already. So we have the cabbage. I cored the cabbage and got it prepared to go into my bowl here. And I am going to keep some of the outer shells for the cabbage. I'm going to set it right over here, and we're going to use that for a reason. I'm going to keep those for a reason. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shred the cabbage up. And so we're just going to cut it in slivers like this and put it in the bowl. And just like this, and then I'm going to go ahead and get this done. You want to start with about 4 pounds of cabbage, okay? And so we are going to shred this up just like this and get it put in this bowl over here. And then I'm going to come back and show you the rest of the ingredients, okay? And I'm shredding it up as thin as I can get it to go in the bowls. And as I'm doing it, I'm going to put it inside this bowl, just like this. And when I get done, we'll come back and we'll talk about the rest of the ingredients. All right, so now you can see that I have the cabbage shredded up into this bowl. And now what I'm going to do is bring over the next ingredient into my into my sauerkraut. And that is a medium-sized onion. And what I do is do half-moon slices on my onions. And let me get the peel off of these onions. Okay. And then I'm going to take and do the same thing that I did with the cabbage with these onions. I'm going to thinly slice them. Very careful, very careful. I'm going to keep that for something else because I really want these thinly sliced up and nice and pretty like this when I'm doing this sauerkraut. Okay. Let me do the same thing with this part of the onion. I'm really having to focus on this, guys, because of my vision. I just want y'all to see the problems that I'm having with my vision and be patient with me. Okay, and I'm going to take this slice and put it over here because I don't trust myself right now with the knife slicing that close to my fingers. So I make adjustments for myself, and I will be getting surgery on my second eye the end of this month, and so I'm really excited about that, and I'm really hoping that that I am not going to have these kind of vision problems. Now what I have is I have a couple of apples here that I want to put in here. And so I'm going to core the apples. like this. I've already washed these apples. And so this is kind of the way my mother used to make sauerkraut when I was a kid. I remember watching her as a kid in the kitchen making sauerkraut, because sauerkraut was one of our favorites growing up. All of us loved it. My mom, my dad, and my 4 siblings. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to slice these apples nice and thin. I'm going to set this to the side. We'll put those apples in there. Continue to slice these apples nice and thin. I haven't had breakfast yet this morning. It's been a busy morning this morning. A family member stopped by to see me this morning to spend time with me, which was really nice of them. And they were excited to see what kinds of things I was going to be doing in my kitchen. When I told them, they were like, "Oh, I'm going to be back for some." I said, "Well, this particular thing is going to take 6 to 8 weeks to accomplish." So, what? What? I told them, yep. All right, one more section of apple. And I have to remember to be patient with myself. All right. These apples are good. Okay. Now, we got everything sliced up. I'm going to turn the video off. I'm going to get this cleaned up. And then we're going to come back and I'm going to show you the next stage. Oh, wait. That was only 1 apple. Do I want to do 1 or 2? I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do 1.5. I'm going to want a little bit more apple in my sauerkraut. Now, you can use any apples that you want, whatever you have on hand. Not even sure what apples these are. They were just the cheapest ones that I could find at the grocery store, and I knew I needed this for this recipe, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and decore this apple all the way. Set 2 pieces off to the side and slice these up to go into my recipe. Okay, set that off to the side. now we have the celery, the cabbage, the onions, and the apples all sliced up and ready to go into our sauerkraut that we're making, okay? All the things that I need are chopped up. So I'm going to stop the video, and then I'm going to go get the rest of the ingredients for this and get this cleaned up, this area cleaned up, and we'll get busy on creating this sauerkraut. Okay, everybody, we're back. I've had that little apple, and I moved everything away. Let me wash my hands. You gotta know I like to keep my hands clean when I'm dealing with stuff. And now we're gonna move into adding the spices in and the seasoning in. And I want to let you know that this is, a job that takes, it takes some time, okay? Because you have to kind of do a step and then wait, do a step and then wait. But I have some coriander here, and so I'm going to add just a little bit of coriander. These are seasonings, so it is, subjective to what you want. I haven't opened this, so let me get this open. It's new. All right. And then I'm going to add maybe a 1/4 teaspoon of coriander to this whole thing, okay? Now let's make it a half. Let's make it a half. All right, there we go. Just enough to add a little bit of flavor, not a lot. And then, this is my canning salt that I keep. And the recipe calls for okay, let me look it up. Hold on. Canning salt, I need 2 tablespoons. 2 tablespoons, okay? And so I am going to, it's got, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to 1 tablespoon. And then I'm going to spread it over it and kind of grind it up, break it up as I go, okay? This is a time of year when I get busy in my kitchen a lot. When it starts cooling off after the summer, during the summer months, what I do is, okay, this is 2nd tablespoon, and that's all I'm going to use in here for right now. Okay. And what this salt is going to do is draw the moisture out of the apples and onions. Okay, I'm going to move this out of the way right now because we're about to get busy. Okay. And I'm going to bring this back in here. It's easier for me to handle. Guys, I'm really short. I'm a really short person. So having the bowl at a comfortable level for me. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get in here and flip this over and get all of this covered up in that salt and the coriander and get it mixed up in there. Let it all get mixed up. Now, I have seen this same recipe that my mom used on several YouTube channels, by the way. And so this is kind of a universal sauerkraut that is used widely. And so I just wanted to let you know that I have seen, my sink is clean, by the way. I do start off every morning with a clean sink. And then I'm going to get in here after I've mixed up, and I'm going to start massaging this. And as you massage it, you are going to see the juices start coming out of the apples and the onions and the cabbage. You'll start seeing it. And so just get in here and massage everything. Sometimes those apples will break up. That's okay. And get in there and get massaging, and I can already see the water coming out on my hand. And so once you start seeing that water is getting to release on the items, then you know you're moving in the right direction. Okay, and I'm going to keep massaging it. I don't want to break these apples up completely, okay? But now that it's all mixed in, the salt and the coriander is all mixed in, what I'm going to do, I'm going to wash my hands first, get all this off. And then now it's rest time. And I'm going to let that salt do its job, which is to draw the moisture right out of the cabbage and the apples and the onions, okay? And so this step, basically what I'm going to do is cover it up. I'm going to get a clean towel. Hold on. You get a clean towel. Here we go. I love these tea towels. I picked these up off of Amazon, and I absolutely love them. Okay, so I'm going to completely cover this bowl up, and I'm going to let it sit for a while, and then I'll come back and I'll be checking it over and over again to make sure that the moisture is getting drawn out of the cabbage and the apples and the onions, okay? And I'll come back to it. And that's kind of how it goes when you're making sauerkraut, is that you do it in stages. I'm not going to edit out the mistake that I made, okay? I went back and looked at the recipe that I had, and it told me to continue to massage this until I can see a bunch of liquid. So that's what I'm going to do. Another thing that it said was that once you start seeing the juice, then you put a plate on it and weigh it down and let it sit in the juice for 30 minutes. So I got my plate here. I'm going to continue massaging and let this stuff limp up. Man, I can see the juices all over the place here. All right. So, as it limps up, working it. I can see it. Wow, this is cool. By the way, this is the first time I've ever done this. I've watched my mom do it. And I found her old recipe in an old book that I had. And went online and looked at the different recipes online and discovered that my mom's recipe is one that is completely used. Now it's really limp now. It's getting really limp. Okay? All right. Keep massaging it. Okay, now it's completely covered in the liquid that came out of the cabbage. Not only that, but it is like this cabbage is limp, okay? That's the not the thicker pieces, but the thinner pieces is completely limp, okay? And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this down in there, and I'm going to put it right there and let it rest down in its juices for 30 minutes. For 30 minutes, and we're going to see how much liquid comes out of the cabbage, the onions, and the apples. And like I said, it says in my recipe and in the recipes that I saw online that you can use any apples that you have on hand, okay, whatever they may be. Now I've heard that, you know, the sour apples like the Granny Smith may be best for it, but remember, we're on a mission to use what you have and save money along the way. And so I bought the cheapest apples I could find in the grocery store. Now, I also want to let you know that I'm going to be trying to put out a video every day for you guys. Even on Sundays, I might just check in with you. And if you'll go to my channel, on the community tab, there's a few things there that I have posted, and I'm working on that community tab. I also want to ask you guys to please subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the like button if you like my videos, and please post it on social media for me because it really helps. I am 40 people away from reaching my goal and 1,000 viewing hours away from reaching my goal. So people, well, let's say 1,300 hours away from reaching my goal. So people, we're moving along. So if you haven't seen all my videos, go back and watch them all through. And I made it really easy for you guys. All you have to do is click on the there is a section on my channel where you can click on like a cluster of videos, and you can watch them one after the other and just let it run. It's helping. It really is. We'll be back. All right, everyone. It's been 30 minutes, and so you and I are going to get in this together. And I'm going to let you know that I'm going to make some extra brine right here. And you can see that I have distilled water here. The reason that I'm using distilled water is because it is, my water is city water, and city water is treated water, and you do not want to use treated water to make a brine for fermenting. It will kill the bacteria. And so you don't want to do that. So I use distilled water to do my brine. And the brine that you make is a ratio of 2 cups. Well, 1 cup of water. The ratio, I'm looking at it. 1 cup of water to 1 tablespoon of canning salt, okay? And so I have 2 cups here because this is a pint jar and there are 2 cups in a pint. And so I am going to put 2 tablespoons of canning salt in here. And then we are going to stir it up. And this is going to be my brine. When I get ready to do my sauerkraut. Okay? Let's let this dissolve. Let's sit there and make sure that all of that salt is dissolved in there. And in the meantime, I'm going to come back in here and we're going to take a look at this. Okay. So now we have this. I have the brine here. Mixed up, ready to go. And now what I'm going to do is I have a, let me find it. I know I'll put it back here. All right, here it is. I have my tamper and we're going to start tamping this. And we're going to continue to tamp this as it continues to make liquid down in the bottom. Because the whole goal of this is to get as much juice out of this as possible. And we're just going to continue to tamp this, pulling the juice out. And I'll come back after I've done this for about 15 to 20 minutes. All right, everyone, I tamped on this for about 15 minutes, and now it's time for the next stage in this process. And I have here, you do have to have the right equipment to do this, okay? You can do it in many different ways. You can use a fermenting crock pot if you want to. I choose to use jars, and I use ball half-gallon jars to do this in. These have been washed and sterilized in my dishwasher, and then as soon as they came out of the dishwasher and dried, I put a lid on them to keep the inside sterile. And I also washed and sterilized these lids that go in place of the canning lid. Okay, it goes right in here like this. And I also sterilized the weights. I'm going to turn you off and I'm going to go get the weights. Look at me, they weren't that far away. I did have them put together, okay? And so here are my fermenting weights right here. And so what I have here now is the cabbage, onions, and apples that I have tamped down, and you can see that there is plenty of fluids down in the bottom of this bowl Okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this now limp cabbage and I'm going to put it inside my mason jar over here, my bowl jar, and put it down in here, just like this, and just stuff it down in there. I guess you could go, you know, and use my canning funnel, but my canning funnel is in the other room, and I'm filming right now, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it this way. And get it down into the jar. And pack it in there. And I'll pack it in there real good. Remember, my sink is clean. I did sterilize it before I started this process, so it is clean. Continue to put it into the jar, push it down. You want as much of this stuff in your jar as you can. You don't want to waste any of it. You already put in the effort. And you can see it got right up to the rim of the jar. Around 4 pounds of this. Cabbage plus 1.5 apple and 1 onion. And then I'm going to take this juice and I'm going to pour it right down in that jar. All the flavors right in there. That coriander and everything. And get everything in here. Okay. And I'm going to pull this up here so you can see it. This is what it looks like. And then I'm going to leave that. You know what I'm going to do? Hold on. You get to see me thinking through this as I go. Okay, I'm going to put this strainer right in here so nothing goes down that sink. I don't want it to go down. Okay, rinse my hands off. Dry my hands off. And we're going to move on to the next stage of this. And the next stage is, for me, I'll take all of this out of here. I get nervous when it looks like things are going to go down the drain. Guys. That's all right. All right, now, our next step for this is you want the brine to come up over the top of your sauerkraut mixture. And so, we're going to take this brine and we're going to fill this jar up over the top of it. And you see, I'm glad I made 2 cups of this brine. And you can see it's already bubbling. So it's already fermenting. And I'm going to bring it right up to the top of that. And then I'm going to take, you remember those pieces of cabbage leaves that I kept? Well, this is where that cabbage leaf comes in handy. Okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this cabbage leaf and I'm going to press it down and use it kind of as a cap to seal that jar with this down in the bottom, okay? And that way I can clearly see that the brine is over the top of the cabbage. Then I'm going to take one of these weights and I'm going to place it right on top, press it down in there, and now it's very clearly over. And then I'm going to wipe the rim of the jar just a little bit, just like this. And I am going to take this and place it on top. Now this is a fermenting lid that allows for it to breathe, and it also is labeled with what day it'll be ready, okay? And so I want 6 weeks. Oh, let me see, hold on. All right. I'm trying to learn how to use this cap, okay? Give me a minute. And with my eyesight the way it is, it's interesting, okay? So, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Okay, I see how it's working. Okay, so it goes 31 days, okay? So, every day I come in here and I dial this. I guess. Just like I'm learning how to use this, okay? And so, no, I think I'm just going to leave it alone until I figure out how this works, okay? But this is how you make sauerkraut, okay? And so this has a dialing method that you can, like, you know, ferment it. What I do is the old-fashioned thing. I'm putting it on my calendar, okay? So I'll know in 6 weeks it'll be time for me to put it into my refrigerator. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is how we ferment our own sauerkraut. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it inside my pantry, and I'm going to let it sit for, you know, checking on it, you know, every other day or so, and watching it, and let it sit for 6 weeks. All right. And so I will be periodically pulling it out and letting you guys see what it looks like as it progresses. Hello everyone. I wanted to go ahead and finish off this video and get it ready to edit and upload. And so this is the fermenting video that I am getting ready to put together. And I wanted to let you know that I looked over the fermenting lid that was kind of silicone that went inside the jar, and it has a dial on it for you to dial it to the date when it's going to be fermented. But I'm doing, and it's like 30, it goes to 31, so a month. And what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to mark it on my calendar. And the reason I'm going to do it that way is because that's the way I use, that's the way I do my fermenting. I'm going to be doing this for 6 weeks. So that's going to be more than 31 days. And so my calendar will be marked, and I will every other day or so going in and checking on it, make sure everything is okay, make sure there's no mold growing on it. And and then we'll watch the progress of it as we go. Now, how much cabbage did I use? I used 1.5 heads of cabbage. I used 2 apples, and I used 1 onion. I used, I think it was a teaspoon of coriander and 2 tablespoons of salt inside the cabbage. And then I massaged it, I tamped it down, I made a brine of 1 cup of water per 1 tablespoon of salt. And please make sure that if you are in the city limits and you have treated water, that you don't use that treated water, that you use the water, you go by untreated water, or you can use the same water I did and create your ferments that way. Now, if you live out in the country and you have well water, that's a different story. You can use that because it's not it's not treated, and so it's not going to kill the bacteria. The key to making a good ferment is making sure, number 1, that your ratio of salt to water is correct, and number 2, that you use a water that's not going to kill the bacteria. It's the bacteria you're looking for, and that bacteria is on almost every food that you eat, okay? And so it's a good bacteria. It's a bacteria you want in your stomach, and I to this day believe that our ancestors were smarter than we think. Now, once it goes to 6 weeks, and it says you can do 6 to 8 weeks, okay? So it's up to you, between 6 to 8 weeks. And once it hits 6 weeks, you can put it in the refrigerator, and this sauerkraut will last you, a long time in the refrigerator until you get ready to make some more. And eating this, every couple of days or so you can put it in salad, you can put it in on a hot dog, you can do a lot of things with a good sauerkraut. And eating just a little bit of every couple of days will keep that bacteria, the good bacteria, in your stomach, and it will help you avoid a lot of stomach problems. And I'm telling you this because as somebody who has had stomach problems and went and was on medication for it and things like that, once I started eating yogurts and I started eating fermented sauerkraut that was not processed, meaning it was not off of, canned off of a shelf, all of those problems went away. All of them went away. For the longest time, I thought I was allergic to like soybean, okay? Because I was having some severe problems specifically with soy. And what it turned out to be was, to my surprise, not having the right bacteria in my stomach. And so it's important that you eat a combination of fermented things in your diet. I had no clue. And so there are, let me give you an example. There are things that you can include in your diets on a regular basis, such as fermented sauerkraut that is fresh and not canned. Yogurt that is homemade. So easy to make. Let me think of some other things that you can do. I have to get back with you. My brain just went, okay. But those are 2 things, okay, that you can create in your own kitchen and just kind of put it away on a shelf and check on it every other day or so and just let it do its thing for 4 to 6 weeks. No, 6 to 8 weeks. And before you know it, you have something that's going to make you feel better. Plus, it tastes good. And it's not that expensive to make. It's really not. And by the way, you can change this recipe up if you want. You don't have to put apples. You can slice pears if you want. There's pretty much any kind of fruits that, most fruits that you can ferment. And so eating fermented or drinking fermented things is really important to your gut health. Oh, another thing, kombucha. I make kombucha on a regular basis as well. And drinking kombucha will help you with your stomach. And maybe one day I'll do that. I'll do kombucha for you. But you guys have a blessed day, and I will see you on the next video.